like.
Don't worry about it. This is what most interviews look like these days.
Oh shit. And I just broke everything. Oh my god, I broke my plant. Oh no. I broke him in half. Oh shit. Well,
actually, this would have made a great intro. Okay,
I feel like I need to back up from the window a little bit. I don't know. I'm so bright.
Hello, and welcome to People Talk Now. I'm your host, Vanessa Herrera, and this is the show where you ask about it and I talk about it. And let's not forget, you guys, that we are constantly, it seems, trying to change the pace out there and what people are calling better days. So good morning, welcome. I don't know if you guys noticed, to my left or your right, I don't know, but I have a very special guest with me this morning, all the way from New York. It's probably not morning where you're at, though.
It's not morning, no.
but over here, it's feeling like morning. So,
yeah.
Introduce yourself.
Hi, my name is Kiirstin Marilyn. I am an activist and a singer-songwriter based in New York. It's a little after 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time here in New York City, which is a great time for me. I'm the most productive in that early afternoon.
Oh yeah, I'm like, I don't know. I actually could agree with that. I don't know. I don't know if it's because of this time right now, like with everything that's going on, but I became an afternoon person. I was mostly a morning person before, but now it seems like I'm doing everything later on in like the early afternoon. So
yeah. I mean, I was definitely even worse during the official like shutdown, lockdown, quarantine time. I was really bad with going to bed really, really late and waking up super late, which wasn't making me feel good. But like, I don't know, it was just like happening naturally, which I think is also part of the reason why like maybe some of us were having anxiety or depressed. Like it definitely helps to go to sleep at a good hour and wake up at a good hour, which I'm like trying to train myself to do.
Yeah, same here. That's something that I've definitely, try to get more discipline with that. And it's a little harder sometimes because it seems like now that the kids are home and like the homeschooling and then, all of that stuff, it just seems like my sleep schedule is way off. And I don't want to take myself to bed at an earlier time because I feel like I've just missed so much of my day that I want to stay up, So,
right. Yeah. It's a vicious cycle.
So, obviously, I want to ask you some questions because you do have an album coming out. Is that right?
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
So from what I know, you have one coming out on the 16th or is the 15th?
The 15th is the lead single, yes, called Legacy.
And then you have another one coming out on the
29th.
29th, and then another one coming out on October 23rd.
So then there's actually a third single coming out on the 13th of October, and then the full album comes out on October 23rd.
Oh, okay. And so before, we get into all the juicy details of like the actual songs that are coming out, I just wanted to ask you something that I've never thought to ask you in the time that I know you, is that what first got you into music in the first place?
Wow. Well, I was a musical theater kid. I think a lot of us probably are. And then, once we leave high school, we kind of go our different ways. And when I left high school, I went on to pursue musical theater and to pursue an acting degree, which I do have from my college, which is actually like 20 blocks from where I live right now, which is actually really weird. It's like this time warp that I live in now because I'm like, oh, my dorms were right around the corner.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I went to school for acting. I minored in musical theater. At the time, my school didn't have a musical theater major. So And then out of school, I did a show, and I just kind of realized that I wasn't happy, and I wasn't like fulfilled with what I was doing. And I was like, you know, this is what I thought I always wanted to do was, you know, I'm getting paid to like act right now. And this is everything that I've always wanted. And for some reason, something doesn't feel right.
Yeah.
And at the time, I had met somebody who was like teaching himself to play guitar and was like writing songs. And I was like, I could do that. So I asked for a guitar for my birthday. And I started like, you know, I started messing around. I started learning some songs on guitar. I started then writing my own songs. Like 4 months, I don't know what I was thinking, but 4 months into like having picked up the guitar, I decided to play a show.
Wow.
Where I like played my own songs. I have no idea what happened during that show. Like, I know my head was down in the guitar the whole entire time. Yeah, I don't really know what I was thinking. But just writing and creating my own stuff felt so much more rewarding. Like, even if nobody was listening to it, it was so much more creatively fulfilling and rewarding for me than performing someone else's, you know, thoughts and feelings. I wanted to like have my own voice and perform my own thoughts and feelings. You know, and not to like knock musical theater and people who do it. I still have like such a love for musicals, and I go to see shows and I bawl my eyes out when I'm watching, but I just knew that it wasn't exactly for me. And then I joined a band because someone saw me perform and they were like, you should really have a band behind you. So I joined this band that I met on Craigslist. And yeah, because at the time, like, that was still a thing that people did.
That's so funny that you say that.
What?
I said that's so funny that you say that, because I think I went through that once too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like, you know, I remember like when someone told me I needed a band, I like sat on it for like 4 months, and then I was like, I'm gonna do it. I'm going to Craigslist. And I met a few different people on Craigslist, but these guys happened to be like my same age, and I don't know, I went out and I met them and I just really clicked with them. And they were in Hoboken, which I don't know if you guys know the lay of the land here in New York, but I live in Manhattan and I am a Manhattanite. So for me to go to Hoboken in New Jersey, even though it's right across the river, it's like a lot. So I was going to Hoboken like 3 times a week to rehearse with these guys. And I look back on that now and I'm like, I was an insane person. Like, why was I traveling to Hoboken to like be in a band? Like, what a weirdo. But yeah, and then, you know, kind of, I guess the rest is history, that I really like clicked with the band. I loved what they were doing musically. I loved writing over top of what they were doing. And then, you know, the first show that we had, I was like, this is it. This is what I want to be doing. I want to perform my music. You know, I wanted to be in a band. I did want to be, I loved the camaraderie of it, but through like 3 different bands, I eventually decided, all right, solo is the way for me. Because I just like, once that last band didn't work out, I just I didn't think I had the energy to put together another band. This is a very long-winded answer to your question.
No, that's okay. This is what this is all about. This is people trying to get to know you beyond the basic things, you know?
Yeah. So yeah, and so you know, I 2 of the bands were long-term bands. My the last band I was in for 4 years, and I was in it with my brother, and I really, really wanted that band to work so badly. But you know, it's tough when you're not on the same page. Like, being in a band is really hard to begin with, and then when you're not all on the same page of what you want out of that band, then it's just like, it just doesn't work. So yeah, with my very last band, I had not really made the decision to leave the band, but I was like, I'm gonna try this solo thing
Mm-hmm.
and see if I can do the solo thing and the band thing and just have two separate things going at once. And then, yeah, and then the band just kind of like fizzled out from there. And yeah, I just, I was like, all right, I'm doing the solo thing.
You're like,
And
I'm
I
doing.
have people that, what's up?
No, no, no. I was like, you're like, I'm doing me now.
Yeah, yeah, and like I have people that play with me. Sometimes, I perform with backing tracks, so that's kind of really helpful as a solo artist because I can just like go anywhere with my, I've got my little pack with my mixer and all my tracks are on my phone, and I'm a one woman show and I can I can plug in anywhere.
That's really cool
So
though that you're able to do that, you know? Not everybody could do that. Not everybody has that like the know-how to like just get your things and you know what I mean and just go and create. Um,
yeah.
so is there anybody who has actually inspired you that you can think of, anybody that inspired you to do music or anybody that currently inspires you to create or anything like that?
Um, well, to first like venture out into writing and writing music, definitely my castmate, his name is Tommy Antico. And we were in a show together. My gosh, I don't even want to say how long ago it was at this point. But yeah, we were on tour together, and he had brought the second. There were two legs of the tour, and the second leg of the tour, he brought his guitar, and he was just teaching himself, and that was really inspiring to me. I was like, oh, that's a thing that you can do, is like teach yourself the guitar and start writing songs. Yeah, I want to do that. I mean, I'd been writing lyrics for a long time, and a couple times, like during college, tried to write with people who I knew played guitar. And then once I saw that like I could just pick up a guitar and do it myself, I was like, oh, yeah, of course I'm gonna do that. So yeah, I would say Tommy was like the first inspiration. And then, people who I guess influence and inspire me now. I mean, it's all over the place. I know, well, actually also growing up, like Gwen Stefani was a huge inspiration for me. Alanis Morissette, women who are just like out there doing it, front women just like crushing it. And I remember like I wasn't even going to see No Doubt. I think I was going to see like Primus, and that actually doesn't make sense. It couldn't have been Primus. I forget who I was going to see, but No Doubt was opening up for them. And I just remember watching her and being like, who is this person? She's amazing. And going out and buying, Tragic Kingdom like the next day. Yeah. And, now I listen to bands like Enter Shikari. They influence me a lot in terms of what I'm writing about. They're an extremely political and socially aware band, and that's the stuff that they write about. And so they kind of they made it permissible, I guess, for me to write about that stuff and to say like, I'm gonna write about how the world and how I see it, and I'm not going to hold back, and I don't have to like, look, this band is doing it. Like, I don't have to hold back with my words, and I don't have to mince my words. Like, I can just come out and say what I'm talking about and, have my voice heard and make, and get my point across. So yeah.
And that's a tough thing to do, honestly, too, as an artist, because I feel, and this is not me speaking for like every artist out there, but I know it's typically not an easy thing to do when you're making music, if you're making like mainstream music and you're just making music for people to be like happy because it's like, oh, this is what people want versus like what you need to say. And even if it does make people feel uncomfortable, and so that's really awesome that you're doing that, that you're creating music that makes you happy and that really just, it's you getting your message across. So that's a very like empowering thing, you know? So
Yeah.
how would you describe like the music that you typically create? Like, how would you describe that?
I mean, I say that it kind of falls under this alternative pop, alt pop genre. It is also like electronic, um, indie pop, if that's, you know, a genre I can throw on it too. It definitely, most of the songs do follow like a pop format of like verse, chorus, bridge, chorus. There's a couple songs that don't follow the formula, but generally I would say that it is, it is like indie or alternative pop music. And I give it that title especially because of the lyrics. Like, I'm not just singing about, you know, having a broken heart or, you know,
Yeah.
how much I love somebody, you know, like every song has this message within it. Somebody a while back called it message music, and I was like, yeah, that's not really, I don't agree with that genre. I don't
Yeah.
think that's like a real genre, but yeah, I just call it alternative pop, mostly because of, you know, the messaging. Otherwise, I would just say it's pop music. But there are a lot of electronic elements, but we also have some. We had some really great musicians on it playing, you know, upright bass and cello and trumpet and piano. So it does use, you know, real instrumentation as well. But yeah, and then I mean, I haven't really thought about what this particular album, I know a lot of times like the industry wants you to say like, who do you sound like? And usually you give like a, oh, it's this plus this mashed together. And I haven't really thought about like this album. I used to say like Gwen Stefani meets, I don't even know. But yeah, I'd have to think a little bit more. I haven't really thought about that, like who, you know, if I could say like a few artists that if you put them all together. I know, you know, a couple songs, they're like we have our Lana Del Rey inspired songs. We have a Billie Eilish inspired song. So there's definitely like, you know, I could tell you where the inspiration for each song kind of came from.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, the album as a whole, I don't have like specific artists that I could say, oh yeah, it's just this person plus this person. That's the sound for the album.
So what has your creative process been like? Like, how would you describe your creative process like during this album?
um, Kind of all over the place. I mean, I tend to be not inspired, but I tend to think of songs when I'm doing like very mundane things. So I write a lot in the shower. And then I have to keep like repeating what I'm singing and then get out of the shower, just like soaking wet and like open up my laptop and make sure I record it really fast, or get on my phone and record it into the voice memos really fast. Or if I'm just walking around the city, you know, a lyric or something might pop into my head that I'll record very quickly. And sometimes songs come really fast. I've written entire songs in the shower. And then sometimes like songs can be really, really tedious. I know one of my older songs on my last EP, The Struggle, I, for lack of a better word, really struggled with those lyrics because I knew I had these first two lines for like a year, at least a year, maybe more. And I knew what I wanted to say, but I couldn't figure out lyrically how I wanted to say it. And then I met with this producer who actually produced my last EP, and I kind of just showed him these two lines. I was like, I want to do something with this, but I don't know what to do. And so I sang him the melody of the 2 lines, and he actually like created a track that I then wrote the rest of the song to. And it was helpful to have that track to be able to keep writing. And so sometimes, like, yeah, I could write an entire song in the shower. Sometimes I'll have a verse and I'll bring that to, I did that with Adam with this this album as well. Like, I would have a verse and I'd be like, okay, this is something, I want to do something with this. I don't know where I want to take it, but let's like at least get the idea out. And so I would, you know, sing the verse for him, and we'd put some music underneath, and then he'd be like, okay, you know, okay, maybe you don't have a chorus right now, so let's maybe we can put this in place of a chorus. But that would actually help me to go home and like listen to that and write the chorus on top of that. So it was, every song kind of had its own process depending on like how easy it was for me to find the words, I guess.
Yeah, I could understand that too, because I've been through that myself as well, you know? So I can totally understand that. Who's somebody that you would like to collaborate with in like your near future?
I mean, I would love to collaborate with Enter Shikari. I've never thought about collaborating. I've just thought about like, I'd love to open up for them, like touring or something. But yeah, I'm just so inspired by them. I love everything that they do. Their stuff, what are they, their genre, I think they coined the genre. They call it like electronicore. Something like that. It's like you know, post-hardcore. But yeah, if I could like do a track with them, I think I could probably die after that.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna ask you next. I was like, if you could open up a show for any artist, who would it be? And I think you just answered that.
Yeah, I would love to open up for Enter Shikari. I mean, I do also, I love Lana Del Rey. I'm super inspired by her as well. We don't write the same at all, but I appreciate the way that she tells a story, and so yeah, I could open up for her too. But I'm a super fan of Enter Shikari, so I think that would be like my number one is opening for them.
So what is like the one message that you would want to give to your fans or people that are listeners of you and your music, or what you're about as a person? Like, what would be the message that you would want to give to them?
Go vegan.
That's a good one.
Yeah. I mean, that, you know, the album isn't just it's not just about veganism. There are songs that are vegan themed, but I think just, you know, just looking more critically at the world around you and not just kind of like floating through life, and really paying attention to, or I guess, you know, if I'm talking to them, like pay attention to what the powers that be are doing, and how that affects everyone, not just, you know, not just yourself. Yeah. And yeah, just I don't know, be more empathetic, I guess.
That's so true.
To, you know, to not just to other people's circumstances, but, you know, our fellow earthlings. And I don't know, if we all kind of spoke up and got up and did things to make the world a better place, the world would be a better place. It's just I think complacency that keeps us from reaching our true potential.
And that's something that well, for the people that watch my channel, they don't know that about you. So you're vegan and you spread the veganism message as well through your music. Is that right?
Yeah. There are, I'm trying to think how many tracks on the album that they're not, if you weren't vegan or if you didn't know what the song was about, you wouldn't necessarily know that that's what I'm singing about. But I have a track called The Dark that we did like a soft release of last year, but now it's like remixed, remastered for the album. And that is a song that I remember my producer asking one of his other artists what she thought the song was about, and she said, like domestic abuse. And I was like, well, I could see where she would get that. And that's sort of what I've tried to do too, is not like be overtly, not kind of like punch people in the face with the message, but let them interpret the song on their own. And then when I say, okay, this is what it's actually about, have them kind of, have that light bulb go off. So she thought it was about domestic abuse, and he explained actually it's about animals going to slaughter. And specifically, I felt like the song was about the sort of humane lie. So this animal is singing to the human that raised her from, from birth until now, and she trusted that human being, and this is like the ultimate betrayal that he's sending her off to her death. So that's The Dark. And then we have an answer to The Dark, which is called Like a Dream, and it's actually sung from the point of view of a slaughterhouse worker. And him, I don't know why I imagine it to be a him, even though I'm the one singing it, but the slaughterhouse worker is singing to the animal that animals that he kills every day, sort of asking for forgiveness, and understanding that he's taking a life, and taking many lives, and it's taken this toll on him. But at one point he says, like, I'm doing the best that I can with the life that I've been given. Like, what else do you want from me? And then I have a song called The Takers that is just basically about humanity kind of being awful. I'm trying to think if there are any like other vegan themed ones. That might be it. Like overtly vegan themed, I think it's just those three, and then every other song has like might have like a little line in it that alludes back to veganism.
So how long have you been vegan?
I've been vegan since 2016. June, I believe it's June. I don't know my exact like vegan anniversary.
I don't think nobody ever does. That's the weird thing, because when people ask me, I say I start guesstimating. I'm like, I don't know, because I just know that it was around this time, but I can never say. I don't remember. It's like something happens to you. I don't know.
Yeah, I know it was around like June. But I don't know the exact day, and I think it's just because the last thing I was eating was eggs, and I just kind of, nothing really happened to make me stop eating eggs. I just kind of was like, I'm gonna stop doing this now. And I told my husband, I was like, we're not gonna eat eggs anymore. We're just gonna be vegan. Like, this is stupid. Let's just be vegan. Why are we being this ovo-vegetarian thing? It's dumb. And I didn't know much about the issue with eggs. I just knew that I was so close, and I was like, why not just go all the way?
Yeah, that's so awesome. So I read in your about Kiirstin little profile here that you're actually also part of the New York March of Silence out there as well in New York City. So what has that been like, getting that up and going over there?
It's been interesting. People do they actually do really, really like it as an action. Some people think it's extremely powerful. It's definitely different here than I'm sure it is in LA. we're actually trying to figure out for this coming Saturday what kind of the best thing is, because we don't have any tourists right now. So it's all just New Yorkers. So it's like, okay, where are the best places to be to grab, the New Yorkers that are going to be out on a Saturday. Yeah. We've also had, it's poured on us, both like official 9/12 March of Silences. It has poured. So that's been interesting too. But we've had other little like peace walks in between that have actually been really cool. We did the one we did this last Christmas. We actually did a banner drop inside of the Oculus. So that was actually a really cool experience, and went really well. We did like a Thanksgiving one where we stood outside of different restaurants that were having Thanksgiving dinners. And we did a Valentine's Day one as well, where we did the same thing. We like stood outside of restaurants that were having Valentine's Day, especially like steakhouses. And there's this like fish place by me. It's like a seafood restaurant. So on Valentine's Day, we were like outside of the restaurants, which was, interesting too. So hopefully it doesn't pour on us this year, but it should be good. It should be a good turnout, especially because we did not have an animal rights march. So I think people are like kind of dying to get out and do something like that. Yeah. It'll be interesting because we do want to still social distance as much as possible, even though people are still wearing masks. But just the optics of it, I think, if we can keep ourselves socially distanced as much as possible, that'll just like visually look better for everyone else that's watching. But yeah, I mean, it usually goes pretty well. We do a lot of leafleting. The first year, even in the rain, I think we gave out like 700 pieces of literature. So, I think it does. I think it does well here. I think also because, there's a lot of people out on the streets. We're going to start in Washington Square Park this year. And on a Saturday, there should be, the park should be pretty packed, unless it rains.
I think out here we're on Saturday, because I'll be going too with me and my son. We go every year, so this will be like the third year of us going, and we're having a bit of a heat wave right now. Summer just decided to to just settle on in all of a sudden. And so, and that's really amazing that you're doing that. I typically, I'll have this mindset that as long as like out of a certain amount of like, say 1,000 people, you hand out a lot of information. Even if you just change one person's, mindset or just way of thinking to like, hey, this is another possibility, even just that one person changing out of all those people in that one day, it just makes a difference, because that's all it really takes.
Yeah. I mean, obviously we're always trying to figure out the best, most effective way to do things. And some people have questioned the flyering, because then it's like, oh, well, we flyered, but then, I saw a bunch of flyers like on the ground. But I changed because of a PETA handout. Like, I was at an event. Of course, I was there with an open mind. So I don't know. I always have an open mind to have my mind being changed. And I guess I was just the right person for this woman to hand this pamphlet to. And like, she has no idea how she completely changed the trajectory of my life.
So awesome.
Yeah, but my boyfriend at the time he fancied himself an anarchist, which he was not. He just liked to wear black bandanas at protests. But he took me to this socialist meeting at this communist bookstore, and we were sitting there waiting for the meeting to start, and this like tall, lanky woman with really long blonde hair, like I wouldn't be able to pick her out of a lineup now, but I just remember like her being really tall and thin, and like her long blonde hair coming down to her butt, and just like handing me this pamphlet. And I just kind of like flipped through it. You know, I held on to it, and then I flipped through it, and I was like, oh my God, I had no idea about any of this stuff. And I went vegetarian like on the spot. I wish it had talked about veganism, but at the time PETA was not making that leap. They were really pushing like vegetarianism. So, but yeah, I mean, if I had been presented all the information, I probably would have gone vegan immediately, but they really weren't at the time. PETA really wasn't ready to push people towards veganism, I don't think. So, it was mostly about meat, and it was mostly about land meat as well. Like it really didn't talk about fish at all. So actually, technically, I went pescatarian after reading that pamphlet. And then it took me a while to get to veganism, unfortunately. But I would not have gone on the path that I went on if she hadn't handed me that pamphlet. So I'm all about flyering, handouts, pamphlets. Like, yeah, you never know who's going to read it and what bit of information in that, it might even just take one bit of information within the pamphlet to get them to kind of, understand and make the connection.
Yeah. And that's so true too about, you never know when someone's ready to receive a message, because I was having this conversation sometime back, a while back with my husband, and we were talking about like how like there'll be people on YouTube and they're just like all sharing, like almost like it's also depending on the category, they're just sharing the same information, right? And he was just like, well, what makes me different from, someone's already sharing this, because he's a producer. So he's just like, what makes my information like different? And I'm like, well, the way that you share the information is different from, maybe the way that you say it, if someone's ready to receive that message at that time because of the way that you're saying it. And maybe other countless people have tried, but they just weren't ready to receive the message. And maybe something about the way that you're presenting the information, they're like, hey, maybe I'm open to this now, and it's all about just being very, like you said, very open. And if the person is open to receive new information, and, you never know, they might want to make a change in their lives, and you could be that person. So that's really awesome that you're doing that. So, what's a talent that you have that nobody knows about? That maybe something that you don't, it's like a little hidden gem that you've got hidden back there somewhere.
Oh my gosh. I honestly like, well, I played a saxophone. Most people don't know that, I guess.
I mean, I know that. And you know what's crazy? I love the saxophone. I love the way that it sounds in music. Like, that catches me every time. Time.
I play the alto sax, but I really love like baritone sax, and I've played like the tenor sax here and there, but like nothing really consistently. I'm mostly just an alto sax player, and honestly, and I'm not even like that good. I've been playing it on and off since I was like 10, so I have some innate knowledge, I guess, just because like I started it when I was 10 years old. But every time I pick it back up, when I put it down again, I don't pick it up again for like years. So if I like consistently practiced, I could probably be a lot better than I am. But I always thought like baritone sax was just it takes too much strength. It takes too much air. I wouldn't be able to do it because I'm female. And then I went to this show and I saw this girl playing baritone sax, and I was like in love. I was like, you get it. I was like, that is amazing. I love that you're playing baritone sax, and not that I would pick one up just because I barely play my alto sax, but I was definitely like in awe of her playing the baritone sax.
That's so cool. So it's so funny that I have this question written here because you were just talking about how you sing in the shower, and I was gonna ask you, do you sing in the shower? And if you do, like, what songs you sing? Because I know I sing in the shower, and usually when I sing the most randomest songs, like I'll go from Adele to like Maroon 5. It's just so random, but like, it's just like to practice my vocals, I'll be in there singing Adele. So
yeah, I don't usually sing other people's songs in the shower. Like if I'm singing in the shower, it's because I'm writing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't know. My younger brother sings in the shower, and like it's ridiculous. And if you're like in the other room while he's in the shower, you can hear him. And I'm like, where did he even like pick this up from? Because I don't do this, like the singing in the shower, and nobody in my family sings in the shower, but he will sing the most random stuff in the shower. But I don't tend to sing. I don't know, maybe some Lana Del Rey, but like otherwise, if I'm singing in the shower, it's mostly because I'm like working out lyrics and trying to figure out, like, shampooing and trying to figure out where to go next with the song.
So, what would you be doing right now if it wasn't for music? Like, if you weren't doing music right now, what would you be doing right now?
Well, have sort of started back in the world of acting. So I probably would have just continued if I had never put acting and all that on the back burner. And I also, I when I decided to join a band and kind of pursue music full time, I always said, acting will sort of always be there, but I kind of have to do the music stuff now. Mm-hmm. So I guess in the past, like 3 or 4 years, I have started to get back into acting, and there is this small part of me that wonders, if I had never stopped pursuing acting to begin with, where I might be now. Just because I have had a couple like very, very minor roles on television shows. So I'm like, wow, if I had been doing this whole time, maybe I could be much further along in an acting career. But I don't know. I also try my best not to live in, what if I had done this, because that's not what I did. Those aren't the choices that I made in my life. So it doesn't matter. But yeah, I probably would, I still don't think I'd be doing musical theater. Like, I think that was a right choice for me to leave musical theater. So getting back into acting now, I'm doing more film and television stuff. And then like also, new media stuff, because a lot of people are able to create their own web series and things like that. So I've been in a couple, web series and a couple like small minor roles on major TV shows, and that's what I'd probably be doing. Still pursuing acting in some way.
Right now, I was just thinking back to when I used to see you post your little like skits. When you and your friend would do those skits.
Oh yeah.
Those are my favorite. I was always sharing those with my husband. I'm like, you gotta watch these, and he's like, this is really funny. And I was like, yeah, it's like, it's different, you don't see this kind of humor. Like, it's a different kind of humor, and I just enjoyed them.
We're trying to start it back up again. COVID really stopped us, because we started doing it, I guess, last fall-ish. And then in the beginning of the shutdown, we were like, okay, we can still do this, and we're going to do like remote phone call stuff. Yeah. And that worked for like a few of them. And then, I don't know, I just kind of got like a little burnt out and I guess, bored with that format. I don't know. It was kind of hard to like really keep the energy and like improv energy going when we were not together. So now that we're kind of comfortable being face to face, we're starting up again. So I just put up something, I guess not this past week, but the week before, of something that we shot recently. It was all right. And then we have this other sketch that I really want to get up, but we shot it up on my roof, and it was just like, we don't have mics or anything. Like, we're doing this very DIY, just with the camera, just with the phone, you know, like, we're not trying to be all fancy with microphones and stuff. And doing it up on my roof, the sound was so awful. And I shot myself like 3 other times. We did it together, and then I was like, oh my God, my sound is terrible. And I went back up and I did it again, and I was like, ugh, my sound is still terrible. And I went back up and I did it again, and then I was like, oh my God, I missed one of the things that I needed to say. And so I think we're just going to shoot it over again. But yeah, we are trying to keep that going, you know, especially now that like things are opening up again. So
yeah. So where are places that you've performed, or have you performed at any venues, or is there any places that you've performed out there in New York that you can think of?
Yeah, I mean, I've basically performed at every underground and some not underground venues in New York, especially because I've kind of been doing this with my bands and solo. I've been doing this for like 15 years now. So like my band performed at CBGB's just before it closed down. We were like one of the last bands to get in there. So I can say that like, yeah, I performed at CBGB's. We performed at the Knitting Factory here in New York a few times here in Manhattan before it moved out to Brooklyn. And I actually put together, myself and a couple other activists, we put together an animal rights music festival that we've hosted it at the Knitting Factory out in Brooklyn. And I performed there as well. Where else? Sorry, I just got like a text message. So it like came down and I like lost my train of thought. Crash Mansion, which doesn't exist anymore. I've performed at this place called Left Field, which I refuse to perform at ever again. Fat Baby, Arlene's Grocery, the Delancey, basically like any underground, or not necessarily underground, but you know, just like smaller venue that exists for music in New York, I've performed there. I've performed at Bowery Ballroom, I think. Yeah, which is like a little bit bigger of a venue, but they did have some like indie acts come through. And I had my release show at this place called American Beauty, which I don't even know if that place exists anymore. There's a lot of places that are not going to exist after all of this is over. So it'll be interesting to see what New York and what the New York music scene looks like after the pandemic has ended.
Yeah. And so is there any places that you plan on performing soon, since you have your album coming out? Or is it going to be like, you know, anything virtual, like performances coming up or anything like that you can give us the deets?
Yeah. I'm doing, actually on the evening of 9/12, I'm performing. It'll be on the Jane Unchained page for the vegan creator studio. So I'll be, that'll just be live streamed, obviously, starting at 10 p.m. my time, so 7 p.m. your time. And yeah, we're just gonna it'll be my producer and I performing tracks off of the album, but it's particularly to promote the release of the lead single on Tuesday. And then we haven't scheduled it yet, but I probably will do another live performance just before the album release, like a little bit later in October. There's a guy who started a thing because of the pandemic called Operation Gig. And he basically has been going around to people in Brooklyn and, like, if he sees that they have some kind of backyard, knocking on their door and saying, would you mind if a band played here in your backyard? And I reached out to him, and so I don't have anything booked with him yet, but we're going to try to set something up for October, also a little bit closer to the release of the full album. So I'll be performing in someone's backyard in Brooklyn in October.
It sounds fun. Send us the invite.
Yeah. And so other than that, like, I think it's mostly going to be live streaming stuff. You know, normally around a release, I would plan some kind of tour, but yeah, it just doesn't make any sense right now to, I don't know, to be going off to different places where I have no idea, you know, what the scene looks like. And, you know, just everything's just so up in the air right now. So I'm just trying to mostly either do live streaming shows and just like, promote the album, promote people being able to stream and download the album. And then hopefully in 2021, we'll be able to figure out some sort of touring situation.
That sounds fun. So how do you feel like that the internet has impacted the music business in this time? Like,
I mean, I think it's great. I thought it was great since, like, the days of people getting discovered on MySpace. Like, you know, it's made some things more difficult, but it's, you know, just being able to get your music on major streaming platforms alongside of, you know, major label artists, I think is huge. Like, when I first was in my first band, all we could do was put our stuff up on MySpace and kind of like hope for the best in terms of the internet. Now, you know, being able to do a lot of the legwork from home rather than having to, like, you know, run around and meet people and hand them your CD and spend tons of money on, you know, physically printing CDs. You know, you just send them a link and then you just keep harassing them on the internet. You know, being able to get on Spotify playlists, like, yeah, it makes it, because it's opened it up to everybody who wants to create to be able to put their music out there, it does make it a little more difficult to rise above the noise. But if you can do that, I mean, yeah, you know, all the doors are open to you then. And so that's what
I say. Yeah, the possibilities are very endless with that.
Yeah. So, you know, it's like, how hard do you want to work, and you're working for yourself. Like, it doesn't, you know, I had some bad situations with managers and a label to where now I'm just like, I'm doing this on my own and I don't care. I'm not trying to get signed. I'm not trying to, like, sign a management deal. I've just been burned too many times for me to want to try to deal with that stuff. But, you know, if you're willing to put the work in, you can make it work on your own, I think. And I agree. Yeah, the possibilities are endless. So, you know, can things be harder without someone else doing a lot of the legwork for you? Sure. But you then control all the narrative. And you know, for me, that's what I've always kind of wanted. Is I left musical theater because I didn't want to perform someone else's words and thoughts and feelings. I wanted to perform my own. So it doesn't necessarily make sense for me to then give up, you know, creative control to someone else, when the reason that I wanted to do this in the first place was to do it the way that I wanted to do it.
Yeah. So, currently, like, do you have, out of all of your songs from the album, is there a song that you particularly like to perform, like your favorite one that you like to perform?
Well, I actually haven't performed many of the songs on the album. So, um,
Do you have a
so,
favorite song from the album?
um, I don't know. It's like the newest song is always the favorite. So, as we were writing, I'm like, oh, I love this song now.
Yeah.
Um, I do really love Legacy, which is the lead single. I just think like it's it's exactly me and how I feel about a lot of the, I don't know, dumb things that humans do to just like pass the time. Um, yeah, and I it's got like it's fun to listen to, but then also like the lyrics are very kind of uh a little bit like in your face and but like set to like a really kind of fun beat. And yeah, I like that song a lot. When I wrote The Takers, that one, I was like, this is the track, yeah. But yeah, I guess I don't know. I guess Legacy might be my favorite. But they all have kind of this special place for me because it's all things that I think and feel and just extracted and put you know onto a sound recording.
Um, so what is the most trouble that you've ever gotten into? She's like, crickets.
Well, with who?
I'll cue the
with
crickets.
with my mother or the law?
I mean, I guess this is just a very open, in general question. Whatever you can think, whatever you want to share.
I even like from like my mother to law enforcement, I haven't gotten in too much trouble, so I can like kind of pinpoint the big ones. I did get arrested and thrown in jail, which was awful. And I think I never needed to have that experience, but it also opened my eyes to a lot of things. And I remember when I was being released and I met up with my lawyer for like the arraignment to get me, to be able to go home until like my court date.
Mhm.
My lawyer was like, jail, the great equalizer. And I was like, oh yeah. You get put in when you go in for like that first, which I think is totally insane, that you can be thrown in jail for 3 whole days without any sort of, whether you're innocent, guilty, whatever, they can just take your freedom for 3 days because you've been, put in handcuffs and put in a cop car. They then decide what happens to you. And 3 days could mean losing a job. Like I had to call out of work because I was in jail for 18 hours, which isn't a long period of time, but it was an entire day where I had to miss a day of work. Thankfully, my boss was very understanding. And it was a job where like he could find somebody to fill in, but it's like you don't know what people's situations are, and being locked up for 72 hours, when you could be innocent.
Yeah.
They have no idea. And then I was put in a cell with I think at first like 25 other women probably, and it was just so interesting to meet these women that I would probably never meet otherwise. And at one point, we did go around the room and say what we were in for.
Kind of like you guys are around a campfire.
Oh my God. And when it got to me and I told them, they all just like died laughing. They were like, that's fucking ridiculous. I can't believe you're in jail. And I was like, neither can I. I went to jail for graffiti, by the way. And it's not like I had a spray can. I had a Sharpie and I wrote something in the subway and there was an undercover cop and he saw me. He watched me do it. And then he grabbed me, and I didn't even know that was something you could get arrested for. That's the other thing, is like people don't know the law. So especially like when laws are always changing, like I had no idea when he grabbed me, I was like, wow, I'm going to have to pay like a $500 fine that I can't afford. And then he was like, you ever been arrested before? And I was like, no. I had no clue that this was something that I could even go to jail for. So, yeah. Yeah, and then it cost me a lot more money because what?
No, I was telling all my listeners and watchers, I'm like, you heard the inside scoop here first.
I know. I don't think I've ever gone on any sort of public anything and told people. I've told plenty of people the story though, but yeah, it's, you know, it certainly gave me a lot of perspective on things. Like, you know, when people are like, oh, don't resist arrest. I'm like, have you ever been to jail? Of course someone would resist arrest. No one wants to go to jail. No one wants their freedom taken from them for even 10 minutes, you know? And then as soon as you get behind bars, you are a piece of shit. It doesn't matter who you are, what you did or didn't do. If you're behind bars, the corrections officers, you are no longer a human being. You are no longer worthy of respect. And they let you know that you've done something to wind up, you know, behind these bars, and whatever it was, you're a piece of shit for it, and I'm going to treat you like a piece of shit.
Wow.
And yeah, so it's our justice system is far from anything that resembles justice. But
no, I know. I have my share of stories too. But we'll save those for another day. What is the best advice you've been given?
I don't know. I can't say that, like, I mean, I'm sure I have. I'm sure someone has, like, sat me down and given me some advice over the years, but, yeah, the only things I can really think of are things that I've either seen on, you know, social media from people who are trying to spread compassion and love and awareness. Oh my gosh, this one really put me on the spot. I can't even think. I can't even think.
Well, I'll tell you what my best advice that I was given, and
okay.
And it's crazy because me and my husband, we have this very competitive thing with each other, but that is what makes it really fun. So like, I've always, and still I'm constantly always like trying to work on the fact that I'm always a worryaholic. I'm always worrying about things that I can't control. And I'm always finding better ways to be better at that. So one day he just like looks at me and we're sitting down and he's just like, why are you living outside of yourself? He tells me. And I'm just looking at him like, oh, crazy. I'm like, what are you talking about? And then he's just like, yeah, because you're constantly just so living outside of yourself that you're causing yourself so much stress, you know, unnecessary when you know, and I guess when he described it to me in a way where I was like, oh, okay, so I'm living outside of myself because I am just thinking so much outside that I'm not really paying attention to myself, like, and that causes stress internally for me because I'm just outside looking at, you know, and he's like, none of these things exist, you know. I think the day where he made me think differently is when he said, why are you worrying about tomorrow when it doesn't even exist? And it sounded so simple, right? It sounded so like, what? But like, I'm like, he's right. Like, it doesn't even exist. It shouldn't even exist in my thought process, right? And so just thinking about it like that, I'm like, wow, okay, that's me living in the moment now, because now I don't have to worry about tomorrow because it doesn't even exist. I shouldn't even be in my thought process. So
That's awesome.
yeah, that was probably
Yeah.
like the best advice from my husband that helped me just be very
Yeah.
just more centered, you know?
Something that, well, I know that like veganism and being involved in not just activism, but just like being aware of kind of like the world of veganism, um, different tidbits of information that are helpful have come to me through a lot of that. So I forget what I was watching, but there was this woman who rescued a bunch of goats, and someone had said to her, like, you know, but what's their purpose? Like, why would you rescue, like, what are you going to use them for? What are they going to do? And she had said, they have their own purpose. Like, they're not here for me and for us to use. Like, whatever their purpose is, it's their own, and they can do they're free to do what they want. And I've sort of used that for not just animals, but human animals as well. Like, we don't have to be successful. We don't have to make money or like do what other people expect us to do to fulfill some sort of like human purpose. Like, our purpose is our own, and whatever we choose to do with our time on earth, like, that doesn't need to be judged by anybody else. And it's, of course, easier said than done to not worry about what other people think about you and what you're doing. But, I try to take that from veganism and from the animals, of like, their purpose is their own, just like my purpose is my own. And, I as long as I'm not harming anyone, what does it matter what I do with this life?
Yeah, exactly. That's so beautiful. Um, if you could change anything about like this music industry, like what would it be?
Um, I would, I wish that I could get rid of corporatized music. Unfortunately, while the internet has opened up a lot of doors for independent artists like me, there still are there is still like some form of gatekeeper. Labels still do exist. They still do run the show. It'd be very hard for me, while I can get on like independent playlists, it'd be very hard for me to get on like a Spotify playlist, even though they try to say that you can. It's really hard to do that unless you're on a label. And I, I try to put this out into the world that like, everyone is creative and music is for everyone. And I mean, I also like, I would love to just like abolish the industry of it. I think that business and kind of, and capitalism in a way, kind of kill music, and they kill creativity, because then, yeah, a lot of people are just writing to write the next hit. They're writing a song to make as much money as they possibly can. Whether that song actually is good or not doesn't really matter to them. Is it because just because something is catchy and sticks in your head doesn't mean that it's good. So they're trying to write something that's going to get stuck in your head. It's going to make you think that after you've heard it multiple times, you actually like it, which is not necessarily the case. It's just that you've heard it over and over and over again. And, the radio stations are still run by the labels, and the labels are generally run by corporations. They've been bought out by corporations. So we're seeing, A&R people aren't even really listening to music anymore. They're looking at numbers. I have a friend that works for, I think she still works for Island, unless they got bought. and she was just a numbers cruncher. She wasn't even really listening to, oh, here's this really great band that I love their music and I think that we could really do something with them. It's just, now it's become like, oh, how many followers do they have? What's their engagement? You know, and can they make us money if we take them on based on the numbers that they're showing us? So yeah, I just think that the corporatization of music and creativity on the whole, not just music, but art in general, just, it kills creativity, and and creativity is progress. And so it just kills any sort of progress for humans as well.
Yeah. So speaking of creativity, I saw your album cover, the No Cats in America. So what was that? What was who created did you create that, the album cover?
I always have the idea, but I am not I don't know how to use Photoshop and things like that. So I usually present my ideas to my husband and then he creates them. So the idea behind, well, first I came up with the title, There Are No Cats in America, which is an homage to An American Tail, which is one of my favorite movies growing up as a kid. And then I'm not really sure like how I came to this decision, but what I decided I wanted for the cover was for it to look like that Bernie Sanders thing. And multiple people have done this with like the cat and the weird 80s looking school background. So, but mine specifically was to sort of mirror the Bernie Sanders one. So that's why my logo also looks like the Bernie Sanders logo, and we'll use that until they come after us. But yeah, it came out of, you know, back in 2016 when somebody had like taken a photo of a guy holding a cat and replaced the head with Bernie Sanders' head. And it had like, you know, the terrestrial background and the, you know, the lasers and stuff. So yeah, we just kind of mirrored it off of that.
Well, it's definitely very catchy. It caught my eyes. I'm sure it's
Awesome.
going to catch a lot of people's eyes too. So
I hope so.
So my last question for you today is, what's next for you? What's next for Kiirstin? Am I pronouncing your name right?
Kiirstin. It's okay.
Okay. I'm always like,
I answer to Kiirstin also, but it is Kiirstin.
Kiirstin. Okay.
Yeah, when people say Kiirstin, I'm like, that's not my name. but I, you know, Kiirstin is another way to pronounce it as well. So, but yeah, it's Kiirstin.
Yeah, and I have such a terrible like my tongue, I don't know, sometimes it just during shows, like it just gets heavy. I don't know, it's just a thing that I do, or pronunciation sometimes. So I was like, I better ask, because we cannot go the whole show and I'm pronouncing her name wrong. Other people pronouncing your name wrong either. So yes. What's next?
Well, I mean, speaking of living in the moment, I'm just very focused on promoting the album. So really, like, the next thing is just getting these singles released, getting them hopefully on some Spotify playlists, doing things like this, trying to spread the word that the album is coming out. Yeah, and once the album is released, it'll just, honestly, the next couple months are just going to be a lot more of this, of pushing the release once it's like actually on streaming sites, and continuing to try to get the music on Spotify playlists. After that, I would say a tour, but definitely not right now. And also then it'll be winter time and nobody really tours in the winter anyway. But yeah, it's right now, like my focus is all on this album and trying to promote the album and get the album out there, especially in ways that I haven't before. My last release was through a label, and I didn't do a lot of work to promote it because they were supposed to, and then they didn't. So, and when I tell people that story, they're like, yep, heard that story before. It's kind of a tale as old as time. So, and I'm just trying to do this release a little differently. I'm trying to push it harder than I've ever pushed any of my music before, and really do the legwork, because I'm extremely proud of what Adam and I created. And, ooh, excuse me. And, yeah, I really, I'm really bad at like self-promotion and like tooting my own horn, but I really think a lot of people are going to like these songs. I mean, I like them, and this is the first time that I like listen to my own music because I want to listen to my own music. Whereas before, I feel like I was listening to my songs just to make sure they weren't the most horrible thing ever written. But now I'm like, oh, I actually like want to listen to my album. So for me, that's a huge difference too. And so the fact that like I actually like it, I think that a lot of people will like it. And I just want to get it out to as many ears as possible. And that's really like the name of the game in the end, is like, how far and wide can you get your music? Yeah.
So, okay. And so where are some places that people that are watching right now can go and find your music? What are platforms that you're on right now?
Really anywhere you listen to music, Spotify, Apple Music, Amazon. I think Amazon Music is its own thing. I do have a ton of music videos on YouTube as well, so you can search my name on YouTube, and watch some of the videos that we've done from past releases. Tidal. I was trying to get people to switch to Tidal because they actually pay artists the most out of all the streaming platforms. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know how many people. I know Spotify is like the big one. Yeah. So, but if you are on Tidal, listen to me on Tidal because I'll get paid more.
Find her on Tidal.
Yeah.
Okay, so and The Takers is the one that's going to be released on September 15th, correct?
No.
Okay.
I might have written it down for you wrong. I'm sorry.
Okay.
We were going to release The Takers first. And then I started putting little teasers out for Legacy. And I just kind of realized like maybe this is the better song. 'Cause The Takers is more of like this epic, almost ballady type song, and I was like, I don't know that a semi-ballad is like the right thing to kind of drop first. So I was like, let's go with Legacy. It's more upbeat, and I think it does kind of encompass a lot of themes from the album that it would be okay to release it first. So yeah, on the 15th, we're releasing my track Legacy, and then on the 29th, it will be The Takers.
Okay. And so you guys can go and check those out. Those will be on her Spotify, which I'll put the links here somewhere. I don't know, somewhere around here. And you also have a website, correct? That they can like go check out everything about you as well. Like your, I believe it's, how do you say that? Kiirstin?
Kiirstin Marilyn. Yeah, KiirstinMarilyn.com.
So yeah, I'll put that here too if you guys want to go check her out and see all her work. And it was really nice having you. Thank you so much for being on People Talk Now and sitting down and, spending some time here and letting us know about all of your musical career. So it's really good having you here.
I'm like, am I talking too much about things?
No. That's what it's all about. We got to get to know you. We got to know more about you. So, you're supposed to be talking.
True. I'm like, it's a very long-winded story, but I'm going to tell it.
Yeah, but see, now people will feel like they actually know you, like they know what you're about. And so that's really good, So as you guys know, I always like to end every show with a joke and a word of the day. So we're going to start with today's joke of the day. It might be very corny, so bear with me. I still have not had people send me in jokes. So today's joke is, I went down the street to a 24-hour grocery store. And when I got there, the guy was locking the front door. And I said, hey, the sign says you're open 24 hours. And he said, yes, but not in a row. I told you guys it would be cheesy. And today's word of the day is, wow, that's a mouthful.
Colloquial.
Colloquial. So that's spelled Colloquial. And the meaning of that is used in or characteristic of familiar and informal conversation. Also unacceptably informal. So yes. So that was today's word of the day. Colloquial. Ugh, that was like a mouthful. Colloquial. That's a mouthful.
Somebody just wanted to say hi real fast.
Hi.
This is Hector.
Hi, Hector. Luna's running around here somewhere. I don't know where she's at. She's being a bit antisocial this morning. So yes, please use the word in a sentence. Let me know how you would use it in a sentence, and hashtag people talk now, and I'll go ahead and share it to my IG stories. And thank you guys so much for listening and for watching and for being here this morning with me and Marilyn, although it's afternoon over there. She's probably about to have lunch. I'm about to have lunch here too.
I gotta turn the air conditioning back on because I am dripping sweat right now.
I look shiny. This is not a filter. This is real shine.
Me too.
And, so yes, thank you so much for being here with me this morning. And it was really fun. And I hope that you guys watching had fun and enjoyed this interview. And please go and follow her on all her socials. I'll put them here down below. And yes, thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
So until next time, you guys have a kick-ass Wednesday. Bye. Bye.